What's up? It's your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your nephew, your friend, but I can't be your son as you can't folk. William Jewell. Giving you my detail as I articulate. This is articulating. Rap. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn all the notifications on so you get all new content when I make it. I just came here to articulate and give you my close up and far away perspective from telescopic and microscopic, the viewpoint of hip hop, right? And a lot of things have been bubbling up this week. A lot of things have given us a reason to be excited, right? Has motivated me to get back in my bag on articulating rap, doing the clips. And I'm going to continue to try to get the clips out. I can't promise it, but that's what the goal is, and that's what I'm trying to do. So hopefully I can, exceed those expectations and continue to pump them out and be more productive from that type of perspective. But, the cat's out the bag. The fall off. The fall off February the 6th, 2026. J. Cole has announced that he'll be releasing the long awaited, long anticipated fall off. I heard people saying it was been 2016 where he was talking about the fall off, where he was writing things for the fall off, maybe like some ideas that he expounded on. The outro 1985, right, on KOD spoke about the fall off, right? And I want to talk about the timeline getting here. And I'm not talking about the KOD, the off season. I'm not talking about that timeline. I'm just talking about from might delete later till now. Because Cole had a pristine image. He had a authentic image, right? That people really liked. The free spirited, compassionate guy who didn't care about material things, right? He had an image of him that kind of got lost in translation. It got lost, during the beef of 2024 between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. And J. Cole was one of the big threes, right, that kind of actually prompted the beef, because we got to go back to first person shooter. The big three. Is it K Dot? Is it Aubrey or me? But right now I'm starting to look like Muhammad Ali. Right? And Kendrick proceeded on like that to call that out. Motherfuck the big three. It's just big me. And when you look at it from that perspective, if you already said something, Cole, and Kendrick just kind of responded, and he really went more towards Drake than he ever did at J. Cole, I don't think it was a reason for the 7-minute drill diss track, right? And that's where the timeline really starts. That's where we kind of speed things up with the 7-minute drill diss track, right? Because before Might Delete Later came out, Cole was killing all of these features. He had a song with Dirk. That first person shooter, it went number one. With Drake, like Cole was doing his thing. He was dropping these Lucy's, right? I think it was 3001. Let me go to Might Delete Later. Let me go to the track list because so 3001 and Crocodile Tears. And he was dropping Lucy's like, parts of the song, not the full song. But he ended up putting that out as a mixtape, but he used the runway of Like That to do it because Like That was a number one song. It was that loud, and it was not just number one for 1 week, it was number one for like 3 weeks. That's why that's why Drake felt like they had to respond in the way they responded. But Cole used the opportunity, right? Because that added a little bit more fuel to a 7 minute drill. That got a lot more eyes on 7 minute drill. That got a lot more eyes on Might Delete Later, right? And he dropped it. And it was mixed reviews. I just got to go down the timeline because we need to kind of put these things in perspective. We got to full circle moment this. And I'm going to try to make it as short as I can. He dropped a diss track on a mixtape, quote unquote. Right? The mixtape was pretty much a warm up to the album, The Fall Off. Because we were expecting The Fall Off because that was the album that was supposed to come next. But Cole did not drop that album. He dropped The Fall Off, which was kind of like a warm up to that album just to give his fans something. But this was not supposed to be considered an album. So after he dropped that track, days later, he got on the Dreamville Fest stage and apologized and said he was pressured into doing it. He didn't want a beef. He didn't want a battle. That didn't sit right in his spirit. And the reason why this rubbed a lot of people the wrong way is because everything that Cole raps about, being the best, being number one, killing people on features, being ready for war, being ready for anything, and then the first moment of, adversity, it's not sitting right in his soul, right? Because, like I said, he put a wormhole in the competitive nature of hip hop. He put a wormhole, a time rift. He just dropped an explosive bomb, right, on the competition aspect that we had on hip hop. And it was earth shattering. It was earth shattering. But not only did he apologize on the Dreamville Fest stage for not wanting to join in the battle, after that, he promised he would delete the track off the album, which he did. And then after that, we got Port Antonio. Port Antonio was a Lucy. It was a song that he released months after the battle, kind of explaining his situation, kind of explaining himself. He wouldn't have lost a battle. He would have lost a friend. So although Port Antonio was seen as a lyrical song and great, lyrics, that lyric stands out. I wouldn't have lost a battle. I would have lost a friend. And a lot of people looked at it like, what? He's saying he would have won the battle, but he would have not had a friend. This was October 10th, 2024. He released this on his Instagram, right? Port Antonio. Kendrick released GNX, and he said, I done lost plenty friends, 16 to be specific. And I feel like that was a direct response to what J. Cole said on Port Antonio. And, fast forward February 2025, he released Clouds, right? Clouds is pretty much a State of the Union address, kind of like where he's at, where his mind space is at. He does get a little political in there, but he also gets conscious, right? So, although Clouds can seem like a weed smoking song with the use of Wiz Khalifa and just the hook, you would think it's about, and I be smoking something loud, Head to the cloud. This world is changing. Right, and I'm like, you think he talking about weed, but he he gets on a political stance, and then he expresses his lyrical prowess, and he expresses his ego, and still kind of claiming that he's still one of those guys. So I feel like Clouds was like a palate cleanser. It was a cleanse of, getting that stank off you, right? Rinsing the battle, the residue, the dust, the mud, the dirt, whatever got on you from the apologizing, from the walking back the apology somewhat in Port Antonio, and just your overall participation in what could have really uplifted your career as well. Because we saw what the battle did for Kendrick Lamar. Like, and it could have did the same for Drake. Or I mean, I'm sorry, it could have did the same for Cole. But at the end of the day, I don't think that Cole was really prepared for that moment, was really ready to go that next level. I just think like he's okay with where he's at. But now we're here. Now we're here at this two track two. Right. So not only is the fall off coming in 2626, but based on what he titled this song, and I don't even think this will actually be the song title when the album is released, but I think from releasing this song titled the way that it's titled, it's also letting fans know that this will be a double disc album. And the fact that it's been a double disc album, like, we got to understand like how, how much attention to detail that takes, the level of difficulty of doing a double album, right? Drake has done a double album. Kendrick has done a double album. And with those double albums, Mr. Morale is not looked at as one of Kendrick's best work. It's looked at as probably his most least successful work as far as his discography goes. But when we look at the tour of Mr. Morale and the performances of those songs, then I think that kind of changes kind of how we see Mr. Morale in totality. Uh, Drake had a double disc as well. Uh, Scorpion. Scorpion was the double disc, and Drake has done multiple 20-track albums as well. But Scorpion was Drake's double disc where he did first part rapping more hip hoppy. Then this two was more of his R&B bag. And when Kendrick did Mr. Morale, it was one was Mr. Morale, one was the Big Steppers, but it was kind of reverse. The first part was more of the Big Steppers. The second part was more of Mr. Morale, right? So morality, then Big Steppers, just more secular, more worldly, more sinful in nature. And so I wonder, when we talk about the fall off, when we think about this two track two, the rewind, the storytelling, the comparison to Nas, and just putting his life in reverse, right? For him to keep the same rhyme scheme, that same pattern, that same, right, that flow that he held and carried, that's a level of difficulty. And to be able to tell the story and keep the story up to par and still end it and begin it the way he did, he showcased his lyrical prowess. Like, and that's one thing like that J. Cole has been able to like expound upon, able to build upon is like his storytelling. And I think that's one element. Like when he did the Forest Hills Drive Deluxe and he gave us those 8 bonus tracks, right? Because within that timeline, that's another thing that I forgot to mention. He also did the podcast with Ebe where he talked about his journey all the way up until Forest Hills Drive, or where he talked about his journey, yeah, up until that first album, if I'm not mistaken. But I think it was Forest Hills Drive. And then and he released 8 tracks, 8 bonus tracks, and the storytelling that he released on some of those tracks was like impeccable. Like the storytelling on some of those tracks, they were great. I feel like, damn, like when I think about Close, like from Off Season, that's what I think about, the storytelling uh of what he did on this 2 track 2. Just like, and then I harken back to that Forest Hills Drive Deluxe pack, and a lot of those songs were storytelling, and you could tell like it was so much storytelling he could only pick a few to put on that album. But like I'm glad he did release those storytelling tracks. So I mean, that's why we can be excited about the fall off. I mean, at the end of the day, we know it's gonna be top tier lyricism. We know it's gonna be top tier quality hip hop music, regardless if you like the song making, because I feel like Cole has never been known to be the best song maker. And I mean, we can just look at his track record, his Billboard entries, and just his hits, right? Most of his hits come from features, not from solo projects. His hits are the albums, right? And same thing you can kind of say with Kendrick, but Kendrick has been established on the Billboard, what I'm saying, a lot more and a lot frequently. And I think that's kind of where the comparison starts to differ between Kendrick and Cole from that matter. Although they're seen as these two hip hop giants that are very similar, and consciousness very similar in like their approach and their genuineness to the music and to the culture. But I think that's where the separation begins. And I mean, shit, if you're talking about the big three, I think that's where the separation is with Drake and Kendrick, and with Drake and Cole. Drake is more of a chart topper guy, and that's why he's more considered pop, because the times he has charted the top, I mean, top the charts, it's through music that's more poppy, music that's not pure hip hop. And that's why people have always looked at Drake a certain way, but Kendrick has done it and stayed true to the art. J. Cole has done it and stayed true to the art through and through, like pure hip hop, not just trying to make a song that everybody's gonna like, or everybody's going to want to dance and have a good time to, but really like putting substance and context in their music that feeds the people the knowledge. So I feel like that's kind of why we should be excited for Cole, because he's gonna have a story to tell. In the same way we look at like Dave Chappelle for comedy, like we don't just want to look at a Dave Chappelle stand up just because he gonna make us laugh. We want to look at a Dave Chappelle stand up because the way he sees the society, the culture, the government, and everything going on, and he can use different ways and stories and jokes to get his point across, or his view on these things, and deliver them in a way that makes people think. I think that's why we like Dave Chappelle, and I think that's why somebody like Cole is needed, somebody like Kendrick is needed, right? And to be honest, GNX wasn't that type of album. GNX was a chart topper. GNX was supposed to be to make the body move, right? To give you those songs, like even Man of the Garden, Reincarnated. When you think about some of those B cut songs from that album, they're still not truly like conscious in essence, not really giving Kendrick's true perception of society of today. I think with Cole, he's going to give us his perspective of society. I don't think he has to talk on the beef. I think that's where he might lose some people if he stays current, if he stays on about the times that's going on right now and everything that going on from Trump to Palestine to uh Venezuela. Like if he can talk about some of those things, if he can talk about the sports, right, if he can talk about just hip hop and what's going on, I think that's what's going to like really up the ante and really make this album what it needs to be. So I don't think uh Cole has anything to lose with releasing this album, right? I think that's why we should be excited. Why we should be have reservations is because we don't know if that's what he's gonna do. We don't know if he's gonna be talking about the beef. We don't know if he's going to try to go past tense, try to be braggadocious, try to be about ego, because we got to think about it. This is a double album, a double disc. So if we're going to put 20 plus songs together, like how many songs will you be able to make and not really be braggadocious and not really get on your ego? And he did it right with uh he did it right with this two track two. But if you listen to the song after this two track two, it was kind of crunk. It was kind of 3 6 Mafia, and we know he was gonna be talking this shit. So I don't think like Cole I don't think Cole will be able to make a double disc album without talking his shit, without being braggadocious, without even claiming that he's the best, because that's what Cole has always done. So, I mean, yes, people are going to look at it a certain way, especially Kendrick stance, but I feel like from the standpoint of just listening to hip hop music, that's what the artist should do regardless. And if you wouldn't have lost the battle, you would have lost a friend. Then you can stand on that and continue to expound on it. But at the end of the day, you got to understand some people gonna take it a certain way. So it's all up to you on how you deliver this. And that's the reservation. That's the weariness. Like when I think about off season, I think he did it right. Right? Might delete later. I think that was a good album. Right? Although it was labeled as a mixtape. Right? So I think his curation of those albums in the past, he's done it right. Now, when we go all the way back to before Forest Hills Drive, Born Center, when we go to Sideline Story, I don't think his curation and his structure to his albums was as good as it is now. I think Cole has been one of those artists, like somebody said, like his first album is not considered a classic. But when we think about Kendrick, when we think about Drake, their albums are. So from that perspective, Cole didn't peak at the very beginning. Cole always had a slow build up to becoming who he became. And to be honest, that's why the fall off is so ironic, because he's only been getting better with time. So there's no reason to kind of put that type of wording out into the atmosphere, but it is what it is. And so we're gonna see what Cole does. We're gonna see what Cole does. So that's the kind of reservations that we have. But that's the expectations that we have. Like this album has to be a great album. This album has to be a classic album. And even if it's not great, like it still has to be Mr. Morale like. And what I mean by that is, like I said earlier, Mr. Morale, right, is not considered Kendrick's best album. It's probably considered, I don't even want to say his worst album, but it's pretty much like at the bottom of his discography when we talk about his greatest to worst, right? And it's still like a good album. Even though it might not be his best album, it's still a good album. But compared to his standard, it's just it's okay, right? And so if Cole can even do make it okay, make it good, but it might not be great, but good enough, where like 75% of the album is great, I think this is a win for Cole. And then he gets to go on tour, perform, and he gets to elaborate, tell stories about certain things. I think like this could be a lot more than just an album drop. And just what he did with the podcast with Eep, just what he did you know, previously, and just how he announced the fall off just like he announced it. Um damn, it's it leaves more to be desired as far as knowing that Cole has been a little bit more elaborate with some of his album rollouts, and I feel like we just getting a little bit of it. We're not getting the full, iceberg. We're just getting the tip. So I think that's where we're at with it. I think that's where we're at with it. So, man, let me see if I got any more notes on this, cause I was gonna talk about ASAP Rocky, but I feel like I had to talk a little bit more about Cole. Uh, and like, what does this mean for him going forward as far as his career? Will he retire? Uh, he can retire, right? And like Jay Z, uh, artists that have retired, I don't think he will retire until he probably gets around 50, or probably just stop like rapping like that, because you got to think Jay-Z had business to keep him busy. He wasn't able to rap all the time because he was doing a lot of business stuff. uh we think about Andre 3000, he's a lot more of a free spirit. I think he's more freer than Cole from that perspective. So I don't see Cole taking the Andre 3000 route. But when even Andre, when he's inspired, he gives us those guest verses that, just stay with us and that just really impact us. So I don't think Cole will retire anytime soon, but I do think that this gives him lead way to kind of decide or decipher where his path is going after this. I think if this album is a great album, like good to great, I think he continues on. I think if this album is not what we expect, because we got to understand this album has very high expectations because this is long awaited and long anticipated. So if this album doesn't, reach that full anticipation or the expectations that we have for it, Cole might sit down a little bit and kind of get back to the drawing board and figure out. But I think Cole at this point, I don't think he can do nothing bad. I don't think he can make no bad music. I think Cole figured out his formula and figured out what makes him great. He knows his ability. Kendrick knows his ability. Drake knows his ability. Once you know what makes you great, like stay with that and then work out the kinks on your experimental sides. But I think Cole knows what makes him great. I think he's gonna use what makes him great. And I think this is gonna be a great album. So those are my expectations for it. So anything less than that will be disappointment. But it's your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your nephew, your friend, but it can't be your son, it's your kinfolk, William Jewell. Giving you my detail as I articulate. This is articulating rap, rap, rap.